Welcome to Black Nouveau. I'm James Causey.
I'm Lexi Mason, and welcome to Milwaukee's Juneteenth Celebration.
This was Milwaukee's 48th Juneteenth celebration, and the last one under Mack Wendell's leadership as the executive director of the Northcott Neighborhood House. Joanne Williams will talk to him about his 42 years of service.
We'll look back on the day's events. We'll talk with vendors, participants, and some special guests. For the second year in a row, the weather was not perfect, but neither the wind, cold temperatures, nor occasional rain could dim the spirit of the people who came to celebrate the end of slavery. Traditionally, colored Union soldiers lead the parade.
We represent the only black unit from Milwaukee that fought in the Civil War as an organized unit. We were called USCT, United States Colored Troops. Company F, we represent 75 men from Milwaukee that went to Illinois to muster out of Quincy, Illinois. We formed Company F, the nucleus of Company F, which was the last unit in the 29th Regiment that was formed. And we fought in a number of campaigns throughout the South and the East. We're living history, and we want folks to know about that part of Milwaukee history that so few of us know about. I went through the entire public school system and university system, and I never heard of this unit.
Teaching history is an important part of celebrating Juneteenth.
The kids know what slavery was. The kids know what slavery meant. The kids also know that it wasn't right. So we have to celebrate this day because it wasn't just a couple of people that made it happen, it was a lot of people that made it happen. And unless we celebrate it, no one knows it.
Juneteenth celebrates President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. It outlawed slavery in the states that rebelled against the Union. He issued that order in the summer of 1862, and it took effect on January 1st of 1863. But the news did not reach everyone.
June 19th is a day that in the African American community we celebrate as the day a group of individuals in Galveston, Texas found out about the Emancipation Proclamation. It was actually 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Lincoln, but in that part of Texas, in Galveston, the word Emancipation Proclamation was kept from the enslaved population. And so a group of Union soldiers came into Galveston on June 19th and let them know that Lincoln had issued the Emancipation Proclamation and they were given their freedom.
Freedom for the slaves in states that did not leave the Union would come with the passage of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. But even that had a catch.
Section 1 of that basically says that slavery and involuntary servitude are illegal except as punishment for a crime you've been duly convicted of. Was that it gave people in the South an opportunity to create a new form of slavery, but just call it something different. And this new form of slavery would take the name of convict lease system. And the way the convict lease system worked was that there were laws written specifically aimed at criminalizing the behavior of black people so that they could be arrested, charged, convicted instantaneously, and then sold to businesses, to whether it be big mine companies, cotton plantations, whomever wanted free labor, they would be sold to those people then, and then they would have to work for free to pay off that debt. And that system stayed in place from the 1860s all the way through the 1930s, when the federal government finally stepped in and said this system is violating the 13th Amendment, and they ended that system.
As elected officials, everybody on this stage has a responsibility to provide opportunity across the state of Wisconsin, regardless of your zip code, regardless of your income, regardless of what school you go to.
We are now joined by Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, the state's first African-American lieutenant governor. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Great. So, you've been in office for 6 months now.
Just about 6 months almost.
Tell us, what has it been like? What was the first 6 months
It's been
been like?
an exciting time getting to travel all across the state. As you know, when we took office, we immediately got into budget season, which presents other opportunities to, sell our vision for the state of Wisconsin. That means fully funding our schools. It means protecting our environment. It means providing opportunity for people all across the state, criminal justice reform, whatever the case may be, and especially fixing the roads. And so we had our budget listening tours where we took input from people all across Wisconsin. We had a chance to hear from thousands of people who all made their priorities very clear. And I'm proud that we are on the right side of supporting the people of the state of Wisconsin in those issues.
Now, in the budget, did you get what you wanted?
We did not. When you look at the Joint Committee on Finance and how they picked apart the people's budget, this is a budget that was crafted, like I said, with input from everyday citizens all across Wisconsin that talked about what was important to them. They want us to make sure that, again, we're fully funding our public schools. They want to make sure that we're providing access to quality and affordable health care. But the Joint Committee on Finance, led by Republicans, took that apart, piece by piece, bit by bit, and we aren't left with a whole lot.
Now, I read or I heard that, it was a lot of bipartisan agreement. Are you saying that didn't occur?
Well, like I said before, some people said there was common ground found, but the only way there's common ground is if we're talking about different terrain. Like if one part of the ground is cement, another part of the ground is gravel. That's not the same. That's not what we're looking for. That's not what the people of the state of Wisconsin deserve. That's not what they asked for either. They deserve more. If you look at the trend over the last, few years, even decades, you see tax breaks going to the most wealthy individuals, largest corporations. It never seems to be a problem when it comes to spending money for people who already have it. But when it comes to working to improve the quality of life of people across the city, across the state, there seems to be some sort of problem, and it's unfortunate.
Is there anything that surprised you or that jumped out at you during your first 6 months?
A lot of the stuff that's not policy oriented, right? Like I would love to see somebody attack me for my policy positions. That would be incredible. But the sort of pettiness that you see that's come about, especially as of late, that's probably the most surprising. It's the most unfortunate because it distracts from real issues. It distracts from the fact that people in the state of Wisconsin, upwards of 82,000 people are being denied access to quality and affordable health care. It means that we're ignoring the fact that the city of Milwaukee, with the highest concentration of lead laterals in the entire state, and other parts of the state also that have lead laterals, those people are being ignored. Children's health and safety is being compromised. That's probably the most unfortunate and the most egregious, because we can pick apart, whatever you want to. You can find little personal things, but until we have that policy debate, we're not really talking about anything that's improving anyone's life.
Now, one thing that we hear a lot is that, the state hasn't been very friendly to Milwaukee, actually. They treat Milwaukee like the enemy. Are you seeing some of that?
Yeah, so these are the regional battles that we've seen being played out for so long. The regional battles that we are trying to avoid. We are trying to mend fences. We are trying to make sure that we're an administration that represents all 72 counties, an administration that represents and wants to provide opportunity in every zip code. And that's why I'm on the road so much. That's why I'm traveling all parts of the state to make sure that I'm having open and honest conversations with people about how do we make Wisconsin a place of opportunity, a place that people want to live, work, and call home.
You travel a lot. I see you out at different events and everywhere. What are people telling you that they want and that they need?
That's the thing. People are saying the same things, whether you're in Milwaukee or whether you're in Hudson, Green Bay, or Viroqua. People want, again, access to quality and affordable health care. People want affordable higher education. People want good-paying jobs. And the fact that the Republican-controlled legislature is denying people, regardless of where you live in the state, these simple things that you should just come to expect. Things that we should all want. To build a stronger state, to build a state that's ready for the future, to build a state that's at least competitive in the region, if not the nation or the globe.
Now, when you were running for lieutenant governor, it was a couple of things that you were pushing for. Solar power.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was big. Are you still going for that?
Absolutely. Clean energy is the way forward for the state of Wisconsin. We don't have any coal. We don't have any oil. I would use today as an example, but I can't as far as sun and wind. However, we have an opportunity to generate clean energy and create a clean energy economy in the state of Wisconsin by investing in renewable energy, which would also help us create jobs, because these are parts that have to be manufactured, maintained, and even replaced. This is as much environmental policy as it is economic policy.
Are you seeing, is that gaining any ground? Are you seeing anybody on the other side saying, okay, that's something that we could agree on?
Not enough people on the other side, but where I do see the most traction is in other states across the country, because job growth, I want to say in 2017 in the solar energy sector grew about 24%. Job growth in wind energy sector grew about 17%. These are opportunities that the people of the state of Wisconsin continue to miss out on, while members of the legislature want to continue to play politics.
What can we expect over the next 6 months?
Yeah, your guess is almost as good as mine. If you think about former Governor Walker's last budget, they got into September, October before it actually got passed. We'll see what happens. When we get to that place, we'll see what comes out of the full legislature.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
How many rib tips do you have? That's a rib
Can't
tip.
say Juneteenth
Go right here.
without laying out the menu. And a lot of that is barbecue.
And we don't went from a beer capital now, pretty soon we're going to barbecue city.
Terry Henning has been in the business for 14 years. And for him, it's all about the grill.
Juneteenth to me is nothing like barbecue. That's why you see so many booths around Juneteenth. Yep. It's other activity too, but usually people come here for the barbecue.
But there's always room for a sweet treat. It's Danielle Jacobs' first time selling anything at Juneteenth, and her hobby is taking her very far, literally.
I came out to Juneteenth to sell baked goods to raise money to move to China. There are a lot of expenses involved with that. I'm going to teach abroad for a couple of years, so I wanted to make sure I was comfortable before I left.
Jacobs is an MPS teacher by day, and she isn't the only vendor with a side hustle. If you ask Shakreem Artist, she does everything. Her name alone is a giveaway to her passion.
I've been drawing ever since I was 5 years old. I love being creative and creating new things. This is Marilyn Monroe, but my version of her. So I gave her a tan and I gave her some tattoos because I'm also a tattoo artist.
The vendors aren't just food and art. Some are services. For Aviza Ahmad, Juneteenth means freedom. Ahmad works with Prison Action Milwaukee, a group that works with the families of people in prison.
You got a lot of folks out here that have been incarcerated, that have loved ones that's incarcerated, and trying to, give them support and encouragement to come out to speak. Because 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been doing this myself. I joined the organization for support. I'm a mother of a felon. When you have a loved one that's incarcerated, a lot of times you have a bunch of shame and guilt. So it's given me the encouragement that I need to stand up.
Juneteenth means to me that I am the hope and the dream of the slave. It means that we've come a long way, but we've got a lot to do.
Simone Smith is the Community Outreach Coordinator with Axe Housing. The organization works to help residents go from renters to homeowners.
Well, the black-white homeownership gap in Wisconsin, and Milwaukee specifically, is very large, and Axe Housing really has the opportunity to help bridge that gap and get more homeowners, particularly African-American homeowners, into homes.
And what do you think are some of those struggles that the black community is up against when trying to go from renting to homeownership?
Definitely feeling as if they can't do it. A lot of people are like, well, my credit is this or my credit is that. And I think Axe Housing helps empower people and say, yeah, you really can do it.
And here are 2 other activities you may want to consider this summer. The African Cultural Festival will be held on Saturday, July 13th at Brown Deer Park from 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. It will be held in picnic areas 2, 3, 4, and 5 and offers activities for all family members. And Black Arts Fest Milwaukee returns on August 3rd.
We've got actually a special surprise that we're working on in tribute to a very talented and impressive musician that brought a lot to the community. And we've got SWV, and we're working on some other acts, but there'll be gospel and R&B, all the sort of stuff. We didn't have gospel last year, so we're excited to bring that this year for the community. We're really excited that we're coming back for a second year. We're going to have, it's going to be one day again because we're trying to be prudent fiscally. 2 stages, the kids area, of course, which was a huge hit. Children's area, we are growing into the sports area. And the Fine Arts Pavilion will be back. And, of course, for those shoppers, the marketplace will be there.
This year, the festival will feature a number of healthcare providers to talk about health disparities within the African American community.
Last month, Milwaukee made national news when the county executive declared racism a public health crisis. Today we have County Executive Chris Abele on. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, why did you make this announcement that racism is a public health crisis?
Sure. Well, people might think, okay, you're not, the problem has been around here for decades. But there's, as an approach to solve, to motivate people, the public health approach is a very specific approach, but it also looks at the fact that racism has a very real health consequence. So people might know that even controlling for income, education levels, however you slice it, African Americans have a higher incidence of chronic disease, have lower longevity, more infant mortality. I mean, even when you control for income, education, neighborhood, there's a ton of issues like that. And by focusing on the health impact, when the CDC declares something a health crisis, this country acts like it matters. And nobody can look at Milwaukee and the race disparities over the last God knows how many decades and notice that, we haven't made the progress near the progress we need to and think we're acting like it matters. We got to act like it matters. And that starts with calling out the issue for what it is, not zip code, but racism. And that's what it is. And that's what this approach is about.
How has it been received?
I've had mixed reviews. I've had a lot of support. In fact, just the other day I was talking to some folks from Lynn County in Iowa. That's where Cedar Rapids is. And they were reaching out, as some other counties have, saying, hey, can we learn from you? Can we adopt some of the same practices? There's some other people who've said, that this is just pandering or dismiss the problem. I mean, that's not new, unfortunately, in this community. But the thing that's important for me, and to be clear, Supervisor Marcelia Nicholson, she was the author of this. One of the things we both said is this isn't just about a declaration. This is about changing policy, changing the way we allocate resources, and we want people to hold us accountable, not just for talking about it, but for doing things about it.
Well, if that's the case, how do you judge success? How do you measure?
Yeah, so what we've done, we've done a whole bunch of things. Right since we created the Office of African American Affairs, every budget meeting I have for all 41 business lines of the county, every single one, they know, each division, that I'm going to be evaluating their budget partly on how does this impact the African American community in Milwaukee, and could it be better? And Nikki Brookshire, who's the director of the office, is in those meetings. And we joined the Government Alliance on Racial Equity, which is this great national group. And it's municipalities around the country who have formed offices on African American affairs, but they want to get at race equity. And everybody sort of shares ideas. Hey, what works for you? What doesn't? Who else should we talk to? So we do a lot of idea sharing with them. But if people say, okay, so what's the traction? What's the change? It's how we it's our hiring decisions, it's our onboarding process, our professional development. Every onboarding now includes racial equity. Every single employee who comes in, every leadership, every manager gets race equity training, and that's ongoing. We have race equity ambassadors in every division to keep it, in between training sessions. So everybody is thinking about, hey, how do the decisions we make every day? And the reason to do that is even well-intended people, it just doesn't occur to them to think, well, wait a minute, is this going to have a really, disparate impact on the African American community? Can we do something about it? What's exciting to me, though, is in procurement, vendors who we hire, it's already making a difference. You saw that announcement at the airport where we've got all these new concession stands, which is great. Right. But as important to me is we set a goal of 20% participation for minority participation for construction and ownership. We hit 30%. We beat the goal. And the reason I wanted to talk more about that is just to show anybody can do this. You just have to intend to do it. I never presume to know what it's like to walk in the shoes of anyone else, but I know on my worst day that the county's a better place when we're listening to everybody, and I'm always trying to learn where am I getting it wrong. But, the single biggest challenge in Milwaukee for 50 years ago and now is race inequity, and we got to stop talking and we got to start doing.
what the race equity training that you refer to, what does that look like? What does it sound like?
Sure. So we work with the YWCA here, who has a great program. Actually, a number of people I knew beforehand are working with it, like Jamal Smith. And what it is, it's 4 4-hour sessions, and it talks about first the history of race in America, the history of, from slavery, 400 years ago to now. But just even that, most people in the course of learning about that realize, geez, this is so much more than I thought. Yeah, okay, I understood maybe sometimes access to capital, but whether it's redlining for housing, the fact that African Americans who served in World War II did not get access to the GI Bill, when the way Americans build equity and build value is primarily through housing, and you didn't have the same access to housing, to aggressive policing in African American areas, to unequal sentencing, unequal access to care. It just goes on. And so a big part of it is realizing, for people who haven't lived it, it's more than you think. And it's not just what you hear about. And then it's the training is about, hey, so what can we do about it? And starting those conversations and making sure they continue.
Well, we're going to have you back on the show to talk about this a little bit more, but I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you.
We need to celebrate Juneteenth every day. We can come together. We can be better than what we've been.
That's Mack Wendell opening a Juneteenth Day celebration on Martin Luther King Drive. The festival is the signature event of Northcott Neighborhood House. The celebration began in 1971, and with Mack taking the helm in 1977, has continued, rain or shine, successes and challenges for 48 years. His words on coming together and being better than we have been are what he truly believes.
Yeah, for the community, we do everybody, we do senior citizens, youth, from 7 to 100 years old.
Founded by the United Methodist Church, Northcott offers dozens of services and opportunities to its neighborhood.
This room here is our computer lab, and we have a GED program. And this particular room is used for young people that have dropped out of school. This gym is well used. Not only do we use it, but we let a lot of other outside groups that don't have the facilities, so we don't rent it out, we'll let you use it. This is our food pantry. We give out emergency food to families that are in need. And then this here is a stock box. This is for seniors can sign up for this. They can come pick up food once a month.
When you look at people who have an impact on a community, you're looking for someone who's sincere, who's committed, who has energy, and is really a visionary. And I would use all those words to describe Mack Wendell.
Mack Wendell is Milwaukee. He started here and he stayed here to pursue his career because he believes in his community. Lamar Franklin has been his best friend since they met as kids in 1954.
Just has that leadership ability. And people, when you meet somebody like Mack, people just gravitate to him,
Another longtime friend and former member of the Northcott Neighborhood House Board, Ben Johnson, said they all grew up in a different time in Milwaukee. The commitment to family and community is what shaped Mack into a leader.
All of our mentors were leaders, so we had to follow in their footsteps and fill the role that they were occupying.
It's the way I grew up. My mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my nieces, my nephews, my sisters and brothers. The Boys Club structure just helped us be close.
Mack Wendell is a graduate of the Milwaukee Public Schools. He's a proud Blue Devil from North Division High School. Then he went to Bacone Community College in Muskogee, Oklahoma. That's where he began leading. He helped manage the basketball team, wrote for the student newspaper, and helped organize the Black Student Union.
It wasn't something that we had thought about or even planned when we went there. We just saw how things were, and we decided to do something about it.
Then it was back to his community, becoming the Northcott Executive Director in 1977.
It's always interesting to be walking down the street with Mack because everybody wants to stop and talk to Mack. He's just a well-known, extremely well-respected person in the community.
Every June 19th, Mack lets his pride in Milwaukee show through the Juneteenth Day Festival. Margaret Henningsen, a former member of the Northcott Board, brought the idea of a festival to celebrate the end of slavery to the city.
So, what's Mack's role been in Juneteenth?
Oh my goodness, Mack. So, I don't even know where to start with him. Mack is the general, and if it's his way or the highway. And he said, we're going to take Juneteenth to another level, and he did. We broadened the scope of the Juneteenth Day Festival. We added a parade. We added a Miss Juneteenth Day pageant, educational programs, all types of things that all tie in with what it means to be, you know, free and able to do the things you want to do on your own.
When Mack is retired from the Northcott Neighborhood House, he'll be able to do all the things he wants to do. But nobody believes he will disappear.
I think he'll still be involved, because I know he can't sit down. He's like I am. Got to keep going, got to keep busy, and that's the way life is. So I'm sure he'll be around here. So
Doing something.
doing something.
Do you think people appreciate all that you've done?
Yes, I do. I really do. I mean, I get it all the time. You know, people always telling me, if it wasn't for Northcott or if it wasn't for me, I tell people that's where I think that my richness comes from, you know, and it really makes me happy.
Join us for the next edition of Black Nouveau on Thursday, August 1st at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 10.
We'll watch tennis's return to Sherman Park and revisit Homer Blow's annual birthday party.
And that's our program for tonight. I'm James Causey.
I'm Lexi Mason, and thanks for watching.